Hi, I'm Dave from Boy in a Band. Sometimes you come across people who completely change your perception of what a human being is capable of. Today I'm going to show you one of those people. Someone who is basically a real-life Iron Man, but less of a douche and with slightly fewer glowing blue fusion reactors embedded in his chest, or at least he hides it well. I'll set the scene of my discovery. After committing to the imminent destruction of my diurnal sleeping pattern, I was perusing through the internet until I happened upon an article about Tesla, a company developing electric cars. Now I know less about cars than I do about spotting continuity errors, but this article mentioned the owner of Tesla had just been asked if he would pay for a museum of the company's namesake. Nikola Tesla, an inventor who is as badass as he is dead. The owner of the company gave $1 million to fund the museum, and I thought, that's a lot of money for a random internet publicity stunt. This guy seems freaking cool. I wonder what other cool stuff he's done. Oh wow, his company has forced all the massive car manufacturing companies towards practical electric vehicles. Ah, but wait, the power plants will still have to burn those fossil fuels in the first place. Oh wow, he's chairman of another company that's put more solar panels on people's houses than any other. But wait, what if it's already too late to curb climate change and the planet is doomed? Oh wow, he's made another company that is single-handedly pushing humanity towards colonizing Mars to avoid the accidental extinction of the human race. So who is this superhero that's saving us from the brink of collapse? There was a genius billionaire in that picture, but it wasn't Robert Downey Jr. The dude chilling with Tony Stark was Elon Musk, who Robert Downey Jr. actually based the character of Iron Man on by analysing Elon's mannerisms, talking to him, and adding a healthy scoop of douche. God damn, that's satisfying to say. Scoop of douche, scoop of douche, scoop of... So I was like, holy crap, this guy is literally fixing the world. How did I not know about him? Is he famous? Okay, phew, he's got over 1 million Twitter followers. That seems like a lot, right? Oh, okay, Nikki, I guess you do sing some pretty catchy... Oh, okay, Kim, I guess you do have a pretty good looking... Oh, okay, Pewds, you do have some pretty funny videos and make an incredibly satisfying way of pronouncing the word haters. Oh, okay, Pibble, you do shout your name very effectively on a lot of songs, but I think it'd be more beneficial if people were aware of the fate of the planet rather than your favourite number. 305! No. What the hell is... What's Dale? How is this possible? How does someone freaking come out of nowhere and found 3 world-changing companies? Well, they weren't his first world-changing companies, and he didn't actually come out of nowhere, unless South Africa is nowhere to you, in which case you're a silly Billy. It's right here, it's right over here, you silly Billy. And in terms of business too, he didn't just pop into existence with multi-millions of dollars. He started pretty early. When he was 12, he taught himself to programmed a game, and sold it for $500. Know what I was doing at age 12? Getting told by my school that long hair was for girls and I had to cut it or get suspended. Well, screw you, Mrs. Cheshire. Who's laughing now? When he was 17, he moved to Canada, and after casually getting 2 degrees, moved to America and started a company with his brother to make the internet's first yellow pages. And bear in mind, at this point, the majority of people thought the internet was a fad like Tamagotchi or Five Nights at Freddy's or caring about debilitating diseases. They didn't actually have enough money for a dedicated computer to host the website on, so Elon became nocturnal and coded it at night, then used the same computer to host it during the day. That concept just makes me laugh so much. Like, imagine if Facebook was suddenly like, oh, sorry guys, it's nighttime now and I've got to fix the messaging system. See you in 12 hours, Zucky. But the work paid off. In January 96, they got $3 million in funding to grow the company. Just gonna stop there for a sec. That's quite a jump for less than a year. But you can't change the world on a measly $3 million. Fortunately, that amount paled into comparison when the company was sold 3 years later for $307 million. The most money ever paid for an internet company at the time, and Elon got 22 million of that. Instead of buying an island and carving his own face into it, the same year he started a company X.com, which, as we all know, is the most awesome letter of the alphabet. It's so goddamn futuristic, oh my god! X.com was an internet payments company, but they were against some pretty big competition, so they ended up merging with another company with a product called, oh, what was it? Oh yeah, PayPal. And he wasn't just some random manager. Not only was he the CEO that ran things, he was the guy who figured out how to make people use PayPal. Think about it, how would you get millions of people to trust this random website they'd never heard of? Well, he started by offering $20 to everyone that made an account and $20 for every friend they referred. This one interview when he was talking about this made me laugh, where he was like,
I think it was probably 60 or 70 $million. Oh,
okay, so we're not talking peanuts here. Yeah, this is...
Yeah, it depends on your relative scale.
Yeah,
what a freaking G! But things weren't easy for him during this time. There were a lot of disagreements with how PayPal should be run, because people who make successful companies tend to be pretty opinionated and driven. Like, imagine if Nicki Minaj, Kim Kardashian and PewDiePie had to get together and make a group and agree on a direction. Actually, that's a really bad analogy, because they'd very quickly conclude huge amounts of twerking and become more successful than anything in history. So after he ran the company as the CEO for like a year, he went on this 2-week road trip to meet some possible investors, and when he got back, the rest of the people on the board of the company fired him. So that was pretty crap. Things went all bad for him because he kept his share of the company even though he was fired. You might know that in 2002, PayPal was bought by eBay. You might not remember that it was for $1.5 billion. His share of that got him $165 million. Instead of buying several islands and carving his entire anatomy into them, he did buy an island at this point. That's when he created his company. Hang on, SpaceX? I thought Google X was a freaking cool name, but SpaceX? That's literally like my 8-year-old self was asked, what is the absolute coolest name possible for a company? SpaceX! What do they do? Go into space! How is that financially feasible? Space! This is where old Elon is a slightly better rocket engineering CEO than my 8-year-old self. He funded SpaceX with $100 million of his own money, because, funnily enough, most people didn't think pouring money into a space company was a sound investment. I guess they thought a company fronted by someone with no prior practical rocket science experience couldn't be more efficient than NASA. Idiots! Well, he had a degree in physics, but anyone that's taken a degree knows exactly how prepared it makes you for the real world. So how did he learn enough about rocket science? He taught himself. He read a lot of books, talked to some rocket scientists, and watched some YouTube tutorials or something, and after calculating that he thought he could do things better than NASA, founded SpaceX with just enough money for 3 attempts at launching a working rocket. Guess which attempt the rocket launched on? That's right, the 4th. We're going to come back to that in a sec because one world-changing company wasn't enough. This is where he made Tesla Motors in 2003 with $20 million, you know, just some leftover cash. Because, as he explained it, climate change needs to be dealt with and the biggest consumption of that is cars. He did it because it was important. So he just casually challenged the entire car industry by being like, yeah, I know you're a multi-billion-dollar industry, but I think I can do better. And then he did better. Tesla made the first production line electric car that went over 200 miles on one charge and also didn't make the car look stupid, meaning it was the first practical and cool electric car. By the way, when I was trying to find a way to prove to you with data that people weren't a fan of the style of electric cars, I typed in electric cars look into Google and yes, that is actually the top result. There's all kinds of stories about the big car companies getting the government to try to restrict Tesla in all kinds of ways, but basically they failed, Tesla won, a trap dance. Around 2008 though, you might remember the financial crisis happened, which was not a good year if you happen to own multiple cutting-edge technology companies. Tesla was about to go under, so Elon injected the rest of his money into it. And I mean all of it. He had to borrow from his friends in order to support his family at that point. No matter how rich you are, it's freaking scary to put everything you own into something. And again, to clarify, he wasn't doing this to make the most money. It's not like he sat down and after careful consideration mused, yeah, space is where the money is. He'd have gone to like the financial sector or real estate or something for that. He was doing it because it was important to progress humanity. So he sank all of his money into Tesla, all 3 rocket launches failed, and he had a freaking divorce in the same year. But at the end of that year...
3, 2, 1, 0.
We're in stage 1. And we're flying.
Indication. We have liftoff.
Yay! On the 3rd launch, he said he knew why it failed, fixed it, and successfully launched soon after with the last dregs of funds the company had. This single human being had organized and helped design what most governments are not capable of doing, and the American government noticed. NASA gave SpaceX a $1.6 billion contract to fly stuff to the International Space Station. So to my 8-year-old self, that is how a space travel company can be financially feasible. Zelda is a fun game! It defined a generation soon after the skyrocketing success, of SpaceX. Elon's other company, Tesla, began to pay off. Its Model S car was released, and out of a possible 5-star safety rating, it got 5.4 stars. Potentially because there wasn't an explosion happening in front of the driver at all times. They started selling shares and made $2 billion, and all the other car companies started making electric cars because they realized, holy crap, we can't be lazy anymore, stupid Elon Musk with your space rockets and your occasional relatable tweets. Seriously, his Twitter makes me laugh so much. Like, who else can credibly get away with saying, by the way, we're actually working on a charger that automatically moves out from the wall and connects like a solid metal snake. For reals. For reals! What freaking billionaire uses superfluous Zs? Oh, probably Dr. Dre, actually. I guess the kind of billionaire that when choosing the vehicle names to trademark for his car company chooses the models S, 3, X, and Y because, and I quote, there's not much humour in copyright law. Brilliant. His sense of humour is so deadpan. One that got me particularly strongly was in an interview when he was asked about his plan to build rockets that fly to Mars.
Do you want to be on that flight?
I'd like to go to Mars, absolutely. I think it would be great to be born on Earth and die on Mars. Just hopefully not at the point of impact.
Right.
amazing. And he's one of the only people in the world that could pull that one off, because he's joking, but simultaneously he's going to Mars. But what does he do when he isn't working? Surely his brain can't be on all the time. He actually has time to play video games occasionally, including Kerbal Space Program, which made me laugh. But more often, he invents new things. Like one weekend after hearing California's government was about to have the dubious honour of building the world's most expensive and slowest bullet train, he got annoyed, so he met with a few friends, had a few coffees, and developed a design documentation for an entirely new method of transport, cheaper than trains, faster than planes, that works like an air hockey table, called, prepare your inner 8-year-old self, the Hyperloop. He just made it, then put the document out on the internet for free because he didn't have the time to do it. You know, multiple world-changing companies already, got a bit on my plate. And 3 other ideas he suggested potentially working on were: 1, an electric plane, which because of the lack of oxygen required because there's no jet engines, it can fly way higher, meaning less air resistance, meaning getting from London to Shanghai in 7.5 hours. 2, a way to add a double-decker element to roads to reduce traffic in rush hour. Please make this one. And 3rd, he actually said in an interview,
well, one of the third one would be, I think you could make fusion work.
you know, just casually, and I believe him. So his companies have continued to go from strength to strength, which brings us to now. Ayo Dave, how much you worth? $8.3 billion. Damn! Keep in mind that 0.3 is enough to buy multiple islands. And unlike many other billionaires, like the Walmart family for instance, who have a tendency to sociopathically keep it all to themselves despite having literally enough money to cure world hunger, I have the stats to back that up, Elon is invested in making businesses that will save the world. He realizes that people who deny climate change as a world-ending threat are idiots, and instead of getting involved in that kind of debate, found a way to make it financially beneficial for the world to work towards not destroying the planet. I just can't believe that Elon is not more people's hero. But all this said, the coolest thing is not the achievements he's done, but why he does them. He didn't go into these businesses purely for profit. He sat down and thought logically about what the world needed the most, then found a way to make it work. He cares about people in a way that so few people with his ability do, and he's smart enough to make an impact bigger than governments because he's not afraid to choose a direction that could fail against everyone's conventional advice and work 100 hours a week to prove them wrong. Elon Musk is probably the guy I respect the most in the world. People tend to find it a lot easier to have that level of respect for dead people like Nikola Tesla, Elon's company's namesake. But I keep thinking, imagine what this guy could do if enough people were aware of his intentions and achievements and gave him that level of respect while he was still alive. So even though he isn't as world famous as some rappers or TV stars, that's the kind of person with the kind of mindset I think more people should know about. And if you're interested in Elon's achievements, you'll probably also be interested in what Google have been doing with their secret research facility Google X, and you can check that video out here or linked in the description. Bye. Oh, and Elon, please be a rapper. You have the perfect came from nothing, now I'm something story. You freaking could film your video with a rocket taking off the background from your own island, and all the best rappers are from South Africa. It would just be amazing. I will make you the song. Please, please, please. Tweet me.